Hello my friends, today we are gonna complete our food ordering project using Next.js and MongoDB. This is our homepage and we will fetch all these products from MongoDB. Let's choose a pizza and in the product page we can choose any size, any additional toppings and quantity. And when I add it to the cart, React Redux is gonna increase this number immediately. Let's open the cart page. We can see what we have chosen here. And when I click the checkout button, it's gonna provide two options. We can pay with cash by filling out this form, or we can pay with PayPal. To do that, we are gonna use a PayPal library, and after the successful payment, you are gonna receive the money immediately in your account. And as a customer, we are gonna be redirected to the order page and we will see our order status here. And finally, we will create a simple admin dashboard. Of course, we should be authenticated to reach this page, otherwise it's gonna redirect us to the login page. After the login process, we will be able to see all products and pending orders. We can change status of these orders to inform our customers. We can delete a product and we can add new one using this form. To upload images, we are gonna be using a free cloud service called Cloudinary. In this tutorial, you are gonna learn the basics of Next.js, MongoDB integration, how to make server-side rendering, how to use cookies for the authentication, and more. I think it's an awesome project to improve your skills. I hope you will like it. If you want to see more tutorials like this, please like the video. If you are ready, let's get started. Okay, our UI design is here. If you didn't watch the previous video, I highly recommend you to watch it first. All those files will be in our GitHub repository here in this branch. Next, Pizza UI. Wow, 15 days ago. It's been a long time. I was really busy nowadays and I was sick a little bit. Anyway, let's get started. I'm gonna start my application. I will say yarn dev. And this is our design. If you remember, we are not fetching any data, that's because we don't have any DB yet. In this tutorial, we are gonna start with MongoDB. If you go to cloud.mongodb.com, you can create your free cluster. I'm not gonna explain how to do that. It's really easy. Just visit this page and create a new cluster. And after that, we should connect our MongoDB server. How we are gonna do that? If you go to database access, you should create a user here by clicking add new user. And finally, we should access this network. I'm gonna click here. You should give access for any IP address. In this case, you can create your own IP address by clicking here, or basically you can just give 0, 0 and 0. It's gonna be reachable in any IP. I'm gonna use this one and let's click here. And we are gonna try to connect our DB. To do that, I'm gonna click connect and there will be three options here. You can connect with MongoDB shell or this desktop app, but in this situation, we are gonna connect with our application. So I'm gonna click here and this is gonna be our connection URL. It's really important. So you shouldn't share this URL with anyone. It should be a secret. So I'm gonna copy this. And what I'm gonna do is creating here an env file. So I will say .env and I'm gonna hide my secret keys in this file. It's really important, guys. Don't forget that. Otherwise, if you share your code with anyone or if you push this in your GitHub repository, everybody can see your secret keys. You can write here any secret key and first one will be our Mongo URL. So I will paste my URL here and there is something more. As you can see, there is a password here. I'm gonna change it. It's gonna be llama again. That because here in DB access, as you remember, we have a user here and its password is llama also. And finally, I'm gonna write here my DB name and it's gonna be, let's say, pizza or whatever you want. I will save my file and I can close. And if you make changes in your env file, I highly recommend you to restart your application. So I will terminate and start again. So we have connection URL, but how we are gonna connect with our Next.js application? To do that, we are gonna use one more library, and it's gonna be Mongoose. So I will say yarn add or npm install and Mongoose. It's a really useful library that we can create MongoDB models and that we can make our CRUD operations. So we are gonna use it. But how we are gonna connect? If you go to Next.js official GitHub repository, there's an awesome example here with MongoDB Mongoose. And in this example, there is a library here. And inside this folder, there's a connection file. Let's open up. As you can see, it imports Mongoose and it takes Mongo URL from env file. In our case, it's not URI, it's going to be URL. And there is a connection function here, mongoose.connect, and we are going to use our URL. And we can give some options. And finally, we are going to return this connection. You can directly connect with this function, but in the example, firstly, they created a cached variable here. It's used for maintaining cached connection across hot reloads. So what does it mean? In our application, we are gonna fetch pizza data, and when we go to product and any ID here, we are gonna fetch this specific ID, and we are gonna have an admin panel that we can update this pizza and we can delete it. Also, we can update order status. For all those processes, we have to connect to MongoDB again and again. To prevent this, it uses cached variable here first, and it checks whether we are connected to MongoDB or not. And if we are already connected, it's not gonna connect again and again. So let's copy this. And in our application, I'm gonna create here new folder. You can say library or utilities, whatever you say. And I'm gonna create new file inside. And I will say mongo.js. And I'm gonna paste my code. And don't forget changing this URI. In our env file, it's URL. Like that. Let me check again. Okay. And I'm gonna save. Okay. Right now we can use this connection. We export it by using its name. So we can just import and use in our CRUD operations or inside our models. So let's create our models first. We are gonna have two main models. First one will be this pizza. And also we are gonna have orders. Let's say something here. And as you can see, this is gonna be our other model. We are gonna create new orders and we are gonna update its status. So I'm gonna come here and create new folder. And I will say models. And first model will be pizza or product. Let's say product. And I'm gonna import Mongoose from Mongoose. Like that. And after that, we can create our Mongoose schema. I will say const product schema. And it's gonna be new Mongoose and schema. So inside this schema, we can write here our all properties. And first one will be title. I'm not gonna dive deep into this Mongoose because in the previous videos, I've already explained them and I don't wanna repeat myself. So basically, it's gonna be the schema that defines our product. Let's see what we have. I'm gonna get back here in products. As you can see, we have a title. We are gonna have a price, but in this case, remember, we can choose other sizes here. So basically, we are gonna have 3 prices and we are gonna have description and additional toppings. So we are gonna define them. So firstly, I will say type will be string. And other requirements, I will say required, and it's gonna be true. That because each product has to have this title. We cannot create any product without title. We have to have price, description, maybe not additional ingredients. It doesn't have to be required. And finally, I can write here my validation rule. So it's gonna be max length, and it's gonna be 60 characters. Perfect. So let's create other one. It's gonna be description. It's gonna be the same string required maximum length. Let's say maybe 200. And other one, we can use image. It's gonna be string again. That because when we create a new pizza, we are gonna upload images from our computer. And for this uploading process, we are gonna use an external CDN service. You can use Firebase, Amazon S3 or other CDNs. And basically, after uploading our file, it's gonna return us a URL, and this URL will be string. Let's delete here. And what else? We are gonna have price, but as I said, we are gonna have multiple prices. So I will say prices, and type will be array. You can basically write here array, but if you do that, we can write anything inside this array. It can be string, number, or boolean. To prevent this, we can write here any specific type. To do that, I'm gonna use this square brackets, and inside I will say number. So in this case, our type will be array, but it's gonna be only including numbers, nothing else. And required will be true. And finally, we are gonna have extra options. Let's check here what we are gonna need. As you can see, we are gonna have a text here, but when we click this button, in the previous lesson, we didn't increase this number. But in this tutorial, we are gonna do that. So basically, we are gonna have a text here and its price. We are gonna have an array again, but it's gonna include some objects. So how we are gonna do that? I will say type and array again, and its type will be object. And in this object, we have to have a text. You can write here whatever you want. And its type will be string, and required true, and also it's gonna have a price, and again type will be number, and required will be true. For example, double ingredient is gonna be text, and when we click here, we are gonna use its price, and we are gonna add it here. Extra cheese, $2. Spicy sauce, $3, something like that. It's that easy. And finally, I'm gonna come here and say timestamps. It's gonna be true. Basically, it's gonna give us a created add date and updated add date. So when we create any pizza here, we are gonna have the creation date. I'm not sure that we are gonna use it or not, but in any case, I highly recommend you to use timestamps for all your models. Okay, so let's export this. I will say export default, and I will say mongoose.model, and its name will be product, and we are gonna use our schema. I will say product schema. Like that. And also you can write here a condition. I will say if we already have these product models, I will say mongoose.models.product. Do not create it again, use it. If there is no models in our DB, just create new model which is product. In our DB, let's come here and choose collections. We have other databases which we created for other tutorials. In this tutorial, it's gonna create a pizza DB, and we are gonna have our models here like that: categories, posts, users, and in our DB, it's gonna be products and orders. And it's gonna check here, and if we already have product, it's not gonna create again. But in our case, we don't have any model, we don't even have our DB, so it's gonna create new one. So you don't have to write this part, but in any case. Okay, I'm gonna save, and I will create one more model. So I'm gonna copy everything inside this model, and I'm gonna create new one. It's gonna be order.js. Let's paste it here, and this time it's gonna be order schema, and let's change our properties here. Let's see what we have. I'm gonna go to orders again. We are gonna have customer, its name and surname, address, total amount, and its status here. Let's create them. I will say customer, it's gonna be string true and 60 again. I'm gonna change here, it's gonna be address, it's gonna be the same. Let's change here, it's gonna be total, and type will be number, and required also, and it's gonna be status. And remember, we are gonna have for status here, it's gonna be 0, 1, 2, and 3. So basically, it's gonna be again number. Let's delete this array, and I'm gonna say by default, which means whenever we create any new order, it's gonna be 0. It's gonna be our initial state. So when the customer order new pizza, it's gonna be just payment, which is 0. And what else we have? Let's delete here. And we are gonna have payment method here. That because we can pay with credit cards or cash on delivery. So let's copy here, and one more time I will say method. It's gonna be number, and let's say required true. So when the user pay with cash, it's gonna be 0. If it's PayPal, it's gonna be 1. So we finished our models. It was that easy. So how we are gonna use them? It's really easy. That because we don't have to create any Express server, any other framework servers. Only thing we should do is going inside pages and API folder here. As you can see, there is an example. So how this API works? It works exactly the same for pages. Remember, we can reach our pages by writing its folders and any ID or index pages. It's gonna be exactly the same thing. So for this example, whenever we go to localhost 3000 and hello, we are gonna run this function, and it's gonna return us this answer. It's gonna say John Doe. Let's try. I'm gonna write here API and hello, and as you can see, it returns this answer. It's that easy. So let's copy here and delete this file. We don't need it. And I'm gonna create my product endpoint first. So I will say new folder, products, and we are gonna have orders. And let's get started with products. So what I want to do is, when I write here products, it's gonna fetch all pizzas that we have. Of course, we don't have any handler yet. And when we make a post request for this endpoint, we will be able to add new data, new pizza. So let's do that. I'm gonna create a new file here, and it's gonna be index.js, and I'm gonna paste my handler here. So what I'm gonna do? Firstly, I'm gonna check my request method. It can be either get method, post method, put, or delete. To handle that, let's destructure that. I will say const method from request. So we have our method here. So what I'm gonna do is writing here, if method is a get method, do something. If it's a post method, do something else. And also you can use here switch case method. And for the get request, actually let's create first our first product. We are gonna need it. I'm gonna use here Mongoose again. But before, we have to connect our DB first. And remember how we are gonna do this. Only thing I should do is importing my file here. My function db connect. Let's do that. I will say db connect. Of course, we should import first. I will say import db connect from, where is our utilities? Okay, here, and mongo.js. And what else we are gonna need? We are gonna need our model. So I will say import product from models and product. Okay, so how we are gonna create new pizza? Firstly, it's gonna be an async function. That because we are gonna make our CRUD operations and there is no way to know how long it's gonna take. So basically it's gonna be async. And I'm gonna write here try catch block first. Catch. And let's say error. If there's an error, we are gonna return this error. So let's say response, and status is gonna be, let's say 500. We are not gonna make any error handling here. Directly I'm gonna return 500, which is server error. So I will say JSON this error. Okay, so what we are gonna try here. To demonstrate this to you better, I'm gonna open Postman and I'm gonna create a new request here. Let's write here our URL. It's gonna be localhost. It's gonna be 3000 API and product. And it's gonna be a post method. And here inside body, I'm gonna choose here row, and we are gonna send JSON file. And what we are gonna send? Remember what we have? We are gonna have a title. Let's say pizza 1. We are gonna have image. It's gonna be our image folder and pizza.png. Description 1. What else we have? We have prices. Remember, it's an array, and for small pizza it's gonna be 12, 13, and 14. And extra options. It's gonna be array again, text, of course in code, and let's say garlic sauce, and it's gonna have a price, and let's say $2, like that. So as you can see, this is gonna be our body, which we are gonna send to our server. So how we are gonna take this data? It's really easy. It's gonna be just request.body. This variable includes all those data. So how we are gonna create a new pizza? I will say const product is gonna be await. I'm gonna choose product model, which we imported here, and I will say create, and which data we are gonna use, request and body. That's all. And after that we are gonna return some answer. I will say status. It's gonna be 200 or 201, which is added successfully, and our response will be this new product which we created. And I hope everything is okay. I'm gonna send. Oops, 500. There is an error here. Let's close here actually. Okay. Oh, there is something wrong with our URL. .env mongo URL. Okay. It's Mongo URL, not MongoDB URL. So let's choose them. And it's gonna be Mongo URL. Let's save. And I'm gonna send again. And as you can see, 201 created. And this is our first pizza. And as you can see, there is a random ID here. Let's see here. I'm gonna refresh this page. As you can see, we don't have pizza here. But if I refresh, we are gonna see our pizza here, pizza collection, and inside we have products. Let's click. And as you can see, it's our first pizza. Perfect. So let's create second one and third one. Pizza 3, description 3. They are gonna be the same. Maybe let's change here. Spicy. I'm gonna send. Oops, why I said 3? I was going to say 2. Okay, anyway, let's create one more. And I'm gonna refresh here. And perfect. It's that easy, guys. So how we are gonna fetch our data? So I'm gonna come here and try catch again. Catch. If there's an error, it's gonna return this error. Response status 500 and JSON will be this error. So what we are gonna try, I will say const all products, and it's gonna be product model, and I'm gonna write here just find. Inside this function you can write any condition like title pizza 1 or description 1, something like that. But in this case we are gonna fetch all data, so we don't need any condition here. And after that we are gonna return as a response. Status will be 200 successful, and I'm gonna return all those pizzas like that. Of course, don't forget here wait. It's an async process, so let's try. This time it's gonna be get method. I'm gonna send 200 successful, and all items are here. Pizza 1, 3 and 2. Perfect. So in our application, let's go to the home page. I can close here, by the way. Okay. So instead of writing pizza cards again and again, what we are gonna do is fetching our data for this index page. If you are a React developer, remember how we are doing this. This is our home page. And we have a pizza list here. Basically, when you open your home page, you can create here useEffect hook, and you can fetch your data using Axios or fetch function, and you can make API request and use all those pizzas. But in the Next.js, we are not gonna do this like that. The best feature of Next.js is actually we are able to make server-side rendering. What does it mean? In the React.js, basically we are rendering all those components first, and after that we are running our functions. We are creating here useState hook, and after we are fetching data by using useEffect. But in the Next.js, firstly we are fetching all data before rendering all those components, and then we are showing those components with those props. There's an awesome function that we can fetch data using server-side rendering. I will say export const and get server-side props, and it's gonna be async function. You can use JavaScript fetch, or also you can use Axios. Yarn add Axios It's an awesome library that you can make API requests. So we are gonna use it. I will say const response is gonna be await and Axios. Let's check. As you can see, Axios from Axios. By the way, I can delete this use effect. Okay. And I'm gonna use get method, and I'm gonna write here my endpoint. It's gonna be HTTP localhost 3000 API and products. And it's gonna fetch all data. So we are gonna use this response as a prop here. So to do that, we should return our props. I'll say return and props. It's gonna be product list or pizza list, and it's gonna be response.data. So let's use this prop here, pizza list. So I can pass this prop here, pizza list equals pizza list, and let's go to the pizza list component. I can take this prop, and as you can see, we have some cards here, but right now we don't need that. Instead, we are gonna use this prop, and for each pizza, I'm gonna return this card like that. But as you can see, there is a warning here that because we are not using unique key, you have to use here a unique key, and it's gonna be our pizza.id. Because for each pizza, we have different IDs. And finally, I'm gonna pass my prop here. It's gonna be pizza. So let's open pizza cart. We have right now pizza. And instead of this custom texts, we are gonna change it. It's gonna be pizza.title. And for this image source, it's gonna be pizza.image. And what about this price? I'm gonna use just the first price, because remember, we have prices array. Its first element is small pizza price. So we are gonna use it. And finally, description. It's gonna be pizza.description. Let's see right now. I'm gonna go to home page. Oops, something is wrong. Pizza price. Okay, I didn't destructure this. Let's see again. Okay, and as you can see, pizza 1, 3, and 2. But as you can see, we cannot click and go to our product page. To prevent this, we can basically use Next.js link. So I will come here and I will import link from Next.js, and I'm gonna cover this image, for example. And href will be product, and it's gonna be our pizza ID .id. And there's a warning here. It says pass href is missing. You can basically write here href, and now when I click this image, we are gonna go to this product by using its ID. Awesome. As you can see, pizza 1, pizza 3, it's changing its ID. Of course, we are going to change here also. But it works. Perfect. So I'm going to do the same thing for this individual product page. How we are going to do this? Let's close them. And I'm going to copy here. And for product here, as you remember, we are using this file for single products. And we are using this static pizza. But right now, we are gonna fetch our data. Let's come here and paste our get server side props. And this time, we are gonna fetch a single product. To do that, we should use this ID. Basically, I can write here params, which means our parameter here after product, and it's our ID, and I can use it here. To do that, I'm gonna use backtick instead of quote, and products and this ID. And this response will be a single product. In this case, I can write here just pizza, and I can use this pizza here. So we don't need this variable here anymore. I'm gonna save, and it's not gonna work that because we didn't create our API endpoint. Let's do that. In API folder, we have products, but we have only main page. And I'm gonna create new file here. It's gonna be id.js, and I'm gonna do the same thing here. Let's copy and paste. We are gonna have get method, put method that we can update our pizza, and one more, it's gonna be delete method. We can delete pizzas. And again, if you want to, you can use switch case block instead of if. So what we are gonna need here? We are gonna need our product ID. So we can import this here. It's gonna be query, and we are gonna use it as ID. So what's this query? Basically, what we are sending here after products. In this case, it's gonna be pizza ID. So we are gonna use it here. And as you remember, we are finding all those products here, but this time I will say find by ID. And inside this function, I'm gonna give my ID, which we have created here. And let's say product. I'm gonna save, and let's see what we have. Oops, I didn't import Axios. Here I will say import Axios from Axios. Okay. By the way, it's gonna be ID here. That because we are using query and ID. I'm gonna save, and let's see. And one more error. As you can see, it's singular. It should be prices. Let's see. Price. It's gonna be pizza.prices, and it's here. Perfect. But we don't have title. That because it's using name, it's gonna be title. Okay, perfect. Title, price, description, sizes, but what about these additional options? As you can see, we are using some inputs here, but we don't need them. Let's delete these 3 inputs. We are gonna just leave one of them like that, and we are gonna use pizza.additional options. I will come here and use pizza, and what was the name? Let's open products model. Okay, extra options. We are gonna use it, and I will say map, and for each option I'm gonna call this component. Let's cover this like that, and it warns us again we have to give unique key. It's gonna be option.id, and here for this label we can use its text. So I will say option.text. Of course we are gonna use price also, but let's see first. Oops, it's not here. I will just console log this pizza. Okay, it's here. Prices, extra options. Oh, okay, it's empty. Let's check Postman. Okay, it should be extra options. It was my mistake. So anyway, let's create new one. It's gonna be post methods, and let's say pizza 4 like that, and it's gonna be extra options. Actually, let's give one more option here. It's gonna be maybe garlic sauce, and price will be 3. I'm gonna send. Okay, and pizza 4, and as you can see they are here. Awesome. But when I click any of them, as you can see, our price is still same. So how we are gonna change it? Let's delete this console log, by the way. Firstly, let's change this ID and name. It's gonna be our option.text maybe. And when we click this input, we are gonna call a function. Let's say onChange event, and I will say handle change. And I'm gonna pass here this event and also this option, which includes a text and price. And let's create this function. I will say const handle change is gonna be event and option. Firstly, I'm gonna check whether we check this box or not. To do that, I will say const checked equals event.target and checked value. And after that, I'm gonna write here my condition. If it's checked, in this case, only this item is checked, I'm gonna write here my function. But before, let me explain you what I'm gonna do. Firstly, we are gonna have an initial price, and it's gonna be the small pizza price. And after that, when I clicked any size here, like that, or when I click any ingredients, we are gonna add additional price for this initial price. If you remember, we are able to change this price by clicking them. That's because we have created a useState hook here. It represents our pizza size, and for the each size, we are setting this state. For the small one, it's 0, for the medium one, 1 and 2. And finally here, we are showing pizza.prices and size. So it means when I click this, it's gonna be pizza prices and 0. When I click this, pizza prices and 1. But there's a problem here. That because we forgot calculating our extra ingredients. So it means even if I change this price according to these ingredients, when I click any sizes here, it's gonna be again 12, 13 and 14. So we cannot change this price like that. Let's change them. Instead of set size, I'm gonna write here handle size. And again, I'm gonna pass 0, 1 and 2. And let's write here const handle size and it's gonna take size index, and then I'm gonna increase this size, but before I have to change this product price. To do that, I'm gonna create here one more use state. It's gonna be price and set price. And at the beginning, it's gonna be pizza.price, prices, and this small pizza price. And I'm gonna write here a function. I will say change price. It's gonna take a number, and set price will be current price plus this number. For the small, it's 12. Medium 13 and large will be 14. So when I click this button, we are gonna calculate the difference, which is 13 minus 12 equals 1. And I'm gonna take this number and I'm gonna add to this current value. So in this case, when I click any button, I'm gonna calculate difference. So let's say const difference. And it's gonna be pizza.prices and size index minus pizza.prices and the actual size. Don't worry, you are gonna understand better. I know it's confusing for some of you guys, but don't worry, just listen. And after that, I'm gonna set my size. It's gonna be this index, which we have given here, 0, 1 and 2. And I will say set size size.index. And finally, I'm gonna change the price. Remember, it's taking this difference, so I'm gonna paste it here, and that's all. Let's cover again. Our initial price is $12. When I click any of those sizes, we are gonna send our size index, and firstly, we are gonna take difference, pizza prices, and size index. For example, for the medium one, it's gonna be prices and $13. We didn't update our size yet, so when I say pizza prices and size, it's gonna be still 0, which is $12. 13 minus 12, it's gonna be $1. After that, I'm gonna set my size, it's gonna be 1 in this case, and finally, I'm gonna update my price. 12 plus 1 is 13. So I can do the same thing for these ingredients. For spicy sauce, the difference will be $2. When I uncheck, we are gonna subtract these $2 again. So it's gonna be 14, 12, 14, 12. So how we are gonna do this? I will say if checked, change price is gonna be option.price. And if we uncheck this, change price again, but this time it's gonna be minus option.price. Let's see. I'm clicking. Oops, didn't change. Change price, and we are sending option.price, which is $2. Okay, let's see our price here. Okay, that because we forgot changing here, it's still using pizza prices and size. I'm gonna change here. It's gonna be directly price which we have created here. I'm gonna save, and as you can see, it's 14 right now. If I click again, it's gonna be 12, and for this one, let's change first to large pizza and garlic sauce, spicy sauce, and I'm gonna turn this to medium, and I'm gonna delete this. Perfect. It works perfectly. But we didn't store the additional ingredient we have chosen here. If I add this to the cart, we will not be able to see our chosen ingredient. To prevent this, let's create one more use state here. It's gonna be options or extras, whatever you say. And at the beginning, it's gonna be an empty array. That's because when we refresh our page, nothing will be checked. And after that, when I click this button, I'm gonna set my state again. Set extras. I will choose previous one. And I'm gonna spread previous elements, and I'm gonna add new one. So what about here? If we uncheck, we are gonna set our state again, and I'm gonna filter and delete our option here. I will say filter, and for each extra option in our array, if extra dot id not equal this option id, I'm gonna explain you again, don't worry. Let's check first. I will say extras, and let's see here. As you can see, it's empty right now. I'm clicking, we have our item. Clicking again, this time we have 2 items, and clicking this one, and we are gonna remove this garlic sauce. Okay, it works perfectly. So what I have done here, I'm gonna delete this. Okay, firstly, if we check our item, we are gonna set extras, and we are gonna take previous items in our array, and we are gonna add them again, and additionally, we are gonna add our option here. Basically, you can write it like that, extras and option, It's the another way to use it to add new data. And here we are gonna have our current array, and we are gonna use filter method. If this item and ID is not equal to this option ID, just keep them inside. If they are equal, just remove using this filter. It's that easy. If you are confident about basic JavaScript methods like spread operator or array functions, I know it's really easy for you, but for others, for the beginners, it can be a little bit confusing, but really don't worry about that. Just improve yourself about JavaScript basics. After that, it's gonna be a piece of cake for you. So what else we are gonna do? We should create one more state here, and it's gonna be this quantity. So let's create quantity here. I just wanna get faster, it takes really long. Quantity, and set quantity at the beginning. It's gonna be 1, like that. And I'm gonna set my quantity whenever we change this value. So I will say on change method, set quantity, and it's gonna be event target and value. So in this case, we have everything for our cart, localhost 3000 and cart. And as you can see, we have pizza information we already have here. We have quantity, and using this price and quantity, we can reach this total number and our extras that we have chosen. So we have everything we need for this cart component. But how we are gonna use it? It's really important here that because we are gonna use this navbar cart icon. So whenever I click this button, we are gonna update this navbar. To handle that, we have a couple ways. You can use prop drilling, which is not a good idea. Second one is context API, and third one is state management libraries, which we are gonna use in this tutorial. We are gonna use Redux Toolkit. Let's do that. By the way, if you don't know anything about Redux, you can check my previous Redux Toolkit video. You should watch it first, that's because I'm not gonna explain every little detail here to not waste your time. Just watch that video and come back here. Let's create here a new folder, and it's gonna be Redux. Let's close everything here, and let's add our libraries. First one will be Redux Toolkit. Oops. What just happened? Yarn add Redux Toolkit. Yarn add Redux and React Redux. Okay, let's shrink this again, and I'm gonna close here, and let's create our Redux slice. It's gonna be cart slice, and I will import from Redux Toolkit. What I'm gonna import is gonna be create slice method. So I will say const cart slice. I'm gonna use create slice method, and inside I'm gonna write here my initial state and its name. Its name will be just cart, and let's say initial state. So what we are gonna need our pizza here and total number. Let's say products. At the beginning it's gonna be an empty array, and total number, it's gonna be 0. And I'm gonna write here my reducers. First reducer will be add new product, and I'm gonna take my state, current state, and action, and I'm gonna update my initial state. So first one will be state.products, and I will say push action.payload. Basically, we are gonna pass our pizza details as a payload, and I'm gonna update total, so I can basically use state.total plus equals. So what I'm gonna add to total is gonna be action.payload price times action.payload.quantity. Our total number will be 0 at the beginning. We are gonna pass this product as a payload, and we are gonna take the quantity and the price. 20 times 2 is gonna be $40, and our total was 0. 0 plus 40 is gonna be $40. When we add new product, it's gonna be the same. Let's say $10 and quantity is 3. It's gonna be $30. Our current total was $40. It's gonna be $70. It's gonna work like that. And also, let's say reset. We are gonna turn back to initial state. When we are gonna use it, for example, when we make our payments, we are gonna go to the order page and we are gonna reset our cart here. It's gonna be 0 again. So I will say state equals initial state. That's all. So let's import them. I will say const, of course, export const. Right here my reducers, reset, and add products. It's gonna be cart slice and actions, and I will say export default cart slice dot reducer. So how we are gonna use it? Where is our store? Let's create here store.js, and again, if you are confused about Redux Toolkit, just watch the video which I've created before. You can find it in the cart on the top right. And in this store, I'm just gonna paste my configured store. What we have done here, we just imported our reducer. Cart will be cart reducer. So how we are gonna use this store? I want to reach my cart slice and my actions everywhere inside my application. So if I go to pages and app.js, I have to wrap my application with the provider, Redux provider. So I'm gonna import my store from my folder, and also we are gonna use provider which comes from React Redux. So let's wrap our application provider, and I'm gonna write here my store equals store. Okay, so we are able to reach this data from anywhere. So what about this number? I forgot writing about that. When I click this button, we are gonna increase this number, but at the beginning it's gonna be 0. Let's go to slice again, and here I'm gonna write one more variable, and it's gonna be quantity. And at the beginning it's gonna be 0. And don't forget, this quantity is different. It belongs to this product, and this quantity is different. Don't mix them. And when we add new product, I'm just gonna increase that quantity. State.quantity plus equals 1. That's all. So let's use this quantity there. I'm gonna open navbar, and how I'm gonna use my store and this quantity. To do that, I'm gonna use selector from React Redux, and I'm gonna select my cart. So if I come here and say const quantity equals use selector, and I'm gonna choose state and state.cart, and inside this cart is gonna be quantity, which is 0 at the beginning. So let's use it. I'm gonna copy this and use here instead of 2, and let's see. As you can see, it's 0, and when I click this button, we are gonna dispatch add product reducer, and we are gonna increase this quantity, and also we are gonna set our products, and we are gonna increase our total number. Let's do that. I'm gonna go to pages and product here, ID. And when I click this add to cart button, I'm gonna call another function. I will say on click, and let's say handle just click. Okay, let's write it here. Const, I'm gonna close here. Okay, handle click. Okay, so how I'm gonna dispatch my cart actions? To do that, we are gonna use dispatch method from React Redux. Let's write it here. Const dispatch equals use dispatch. So we are able to dispatch our action. So I will come here and I will say dispatch, and I'm gonna write here my action name. Remember, add product. Of course, I should import this. Redux and cart slice. What we are passing here as a payload, remember. Let's open again cart slice and see what we are passing. As you can see, action and payload is gonna include our pizza details and price and quantity. So let's say pizza, we have to send our extras and price and quantity. I didn't cover them. Okay, this pizza will be, oops, why it's 2? Handle click. Why I wrote here function. Let's see again. Okay, it's 0 right now. And what we are passing as a payload, this pizza will be this title, description, this image and additional information. These extras will be what we are choosing here, and this price will be our current price, and this quantity will be this quantity. So when I add this to the cart, it's gonna be 1. Again 2, 3, so it works. Let me close here. So what about our cart? By the way, when I click here, I want to go to cart component, so we can use next link again. Here for this item, I'm gonna say link from next and link, and I'm gonna cover up this component, and href, it's gonna be just cart. And again, you can just add here href. I'm clicking and we are going to cart component. So let's use all those information for this page. I'm gonna close everything and open cart component. And again, I'm gonna use dispatch and use selector from React Redux. Let's say const dispatch, use dispatch. And also I'm gonna choose everything in my store. So I will say const cart equals use selector, and I will use state here and state.cart. So in this case, we are not gonna need this second item. Let's delete it. What I'm gonna do is using this cart value and using map for the products. So I will come here and I'm gonna say cart.products and map, and for each product, oops, like that, just cover this tr. Where's the ending here? And of course, we don't have key. I will say key equals product.id. Let's see. Okay, as you can see, 3 items. Right now we can use their names and other things here. Image will be product.image, product.title, price product dot quantity, and I'm gonna write here a calculation. I will say product dot price multiply by quantity. We have only one for each item. So what about those extras? Again, I'm gonna use map here. I will say product for extras. I'm gonna use map, and for each extra, let's delete here, and let's write a span which includes extra.text. And again, key is gonna be extra.id, and I can give some space here, maybe like that. Okay, perfect. And I'm gonna use our total for here. Let's change them. I'm gonna say cart dot total. As you can see, 19 times 3 is gonna be 57. Perfect. And right now there is an important point, which is payment. When I click this button, we are gonna see our payment methods, which is cash on delivery or PayPal. To do that, we are gonna use React PayPal.js. Let's copy this and let's open new terminal, and I will say yarn add React PayPal.js. Let's see what we have here. Using PayPal might be a little bit confusing. It's not like Stripe, but basically we are gonna give our options here, like amount, our currency, and our button style. And after that, we are gonna create a button wrapper, and this library uses context API inside, and it takes our options and creates here a PayPal button. And we are gonna use this button in our component like this. First PayPal provider, and then this wrapper, which we are gonna create here. And finally, when we click on this button, we are gonna give our PayPal information or credit card information, and this library is gonna handle that. And if everything is okay, it's gonna return this function, and we are gonna write our Next.js API code here. Let's first copy here like that, and here inside cart. Actually, here is gonna be inside cart also. Okay, I'm gonna paste my wrapper, and finally I'm gonna use my provider and this wrapper. Let's come here and paste it here for now. Let's check. As you can see, PayPal button is here, and it includes additional payment methods like credit card and other methods according to your country. When you click this button, for example, it's gonna open up this PayPal component, and also you will be able to pay with your credit card by clicking here. As you can see, it looks pretty ugly. I don't want to see them. I just want to pay with PayPal. So I'm going to come here and say disable fundings. And I'm going to disable credit cards like that. And also other method like that. Okay, it's only PayPal button here. But it looks strange. What I want to do is enabling this PayPal button after clicking checkout button. And also we can create another payment method here, which is cash on delivery. So what I'm gonna do is creating here a new view state. Let's delete here, and I'm gonna say const open and set open, and it's gonna be use state, and at the beginning it's gonna be false. And I'm gonna write here a condition. I will say if open, show me PayPal button. If it's not, just show me this checkout button. I'm gonna move this here, and I'm gonna move PayPal provider here. Like that. As you can see, we see only this button, that because it's false. And also, if I come here and say on click and set open, it's gonna be true. So if I click on this button, we are gonna see PayPal. Perfect. So let's add here another button. Actually, I can wrap this with a div. Let's say class name and styles dot payment methods, and I'm gonna create here a button, and it's gonna be cash on delivery. Class name is gonna be styles dot, let's say, pay button. Like that. Let's take care of our style. I will say cart module CSS, and here I'm gonna say payment methods. Let's give margin top. I will say display flags, and flags direction will be column. Like that. What about this button? Pay button. I'm gonna say padding 5, cursor will be pointer, margin bottom 5 pixels, and let's say background color white, and text color will be teal. Like that. Maybe font weight bold, maybe let's give 5 pixels from left and right and 10 pixels from top and bottom. Like that. Perfect. So let's change this typo here. It's gonna be space. Okay, I'm gonna close here. And what I'm gonna do, firstly, to use PayPal account, we have to give our client ID here. As you can see, it says test, but you have to create your developer account. So if you go to developer.paypal.com, developer and applications, firstly, you should create a sandbox account. Basically, they are gonna be our test accounts that we can make fake payments as a seller or customer. So let's create. I'm gonna create new account. Firstly, it's gonna be our business account. Choose your country or USA. And one more account. And it's gonna be personal. In this case, we are gonna be a customer. So let's create our application. To do that, I'm gonna go to my apps and credentials. And here you can create your new application. Let's write here something. I will say llama. We are gonna be a seller. And let's choose our account. It's our seller account, remember. We have created here this one. And I'm gonna create my application. And after that, it's gonna be our client ID. Let's copy this and paste for here inside this client ID, like that. Right now, let's test it. To test it, we are gonna use our sandbox accounts. So if you go to sandbox.paypal.com, you can reach your accounts by using your fake email and password. Let's see what we have. Remember, this is our business account. I'm gonna view, and as you can see, this is our fake ID. Let's paste it here. And this is our random generated password. I'm gonna log in. And as you can see, we have a fake money here that we can use to test our applications. And we can go to another sandbox. And I'm gonna open it here, incognito version of Chrome. And let's use it. I'm gonna close here, and for personal account, let's say view and edit. I'm gonna copy this like that, and this password. And as you can see, this is our personal account. So using this customer account, I'm gonna try to buy a pizza, and after that, it's gonna decrease our PayPal money and it's gonna add it to our business account. Let's try, and let's click here. I'm gonna paste this email and password. Let's log in. As you can see, this is our fake name, fake address. I'm gonna choose this as my shipping address, and I'm gonna try to make this payment. As you can see, it's $2. That's because at the beginning we are gonna change this, of course. Let's say pay now, and it's ready. Let's check our account. I'm gonna refresh. This is the customer account, and as you can see, we just paid $2. So if we go to our other account, and as you can see, we have $1.44. And here, payment from John Doe, and how many percent is PayPal taking, I don't know. Let's check here. Okay, fee is 56 cents. I don't know how many percent, but it's similar to Stripe, I think. So it works like that. So what this payment process returns us? Let's check. Here on approve, after the successful payment, we can write here our functions. For now, I just wanna check details. It's gonna return us a detail, and let's say console log and check these details. I'm gonna make payment again, and I'm gonna make this payment. As you can see, it returns me an object. By the way, there is something wrong with our tables. That's because we forgot adding one of those tags. We are gonna handle this, don't worry. But after payment, as you can see, we have payment ID, purchase units, and for the first element, we have our shipping details like address and name, John Doe, and its address. So we are gonna use those informations. And also we can just use this tag. And before tr, I'm gonna use tbody, and I'm gonna cover this tr. And I'm gonna do the same thing for other tr here. Actually, I can write it here. So right now we are able to create an order and send our details after this payment. Let's go to our API and take care of order endpoint. I'm gonna close here. Okay. API orders, and as you can see, it's empty. Let's create index and ID. Okay, for the index, I'm gonna create my handler like that. Let's take our request method. Oops, curly brackets. From request, and I'm gonna write here my condition. If method equals get, and if method equals post. And I'm gonna do the same thing for here, but this time we are gonna get query like that, and for get method, and for put method, and delete method. Of course, we should export these handlers like that. Okay, perfect. So firstly, I'm gonna connect to my DB. We are taking this from our utility folder, and after that I'm gonna create new order here. Let's write here quickly try and catch block, error, request status 500, JSON and error. And here I will say const order, and I will say await order model, and I'm gonna create new document. It's gonna be request and body. It's exactly the same thing that we have done for products. And after that we can send a response. It's gonna be 201 and JSON this order. And for all orders I'll say, let's copy here actually, but it's gonna be orders find, it's gonna be empty, and I'm gonna send all orders. Let's make it 200. So in this case we are able to create any order. So if I go to cart component again, let's delete this console log. Instead, let's create our order. Firstly, I'm gonna take my shipping details. Remember what we have just printed on the console, details.purchase units, and I'm gonna take the first item and shipping, and it includes customer name and address. I can make a request for my API, but let's write it here, somewhere here, individual function. So I will say const create order, and it's gonna take data. By the way, it's gonna be async function, of course. And let's say try and catch. If there is an error, just console log. So what we are gonna try, I will say const response is gonna be Axios and post method, and our URL will be http localhost 3000 API and orders. So we should send our data, this data which we have passed. And after that, I'm gonna control our response. I will say if response.status equals 201, just redirect the customer to another page. To do that, we are gonna use router. It's gonna come from Next.js and use router. Import, use router from Next and router. Oops, there is no slash here. Okay. Let's create our router first. It's gonna be use router hook, like that. So right now we are able to push our customer to another page, and it's gonna be orders and our order ID, response data.id. Oops, what happened here? Response data.id. Okay, this is our response after creating our order, and this is our order ID. So if everything is successful, we are gonna go to this page. And also, remember, we have dispatch here. We can use our reducer, cart slice, and if you remember, we have a reset action here. We can dispatch. So I'm gonna come here and say dispatch and reset. Of course, I should import this. Let me copy and paste here. Okay, and that's all. So let's use this function here. I'll say create order. So what about our data? Firstly, we are gonna have customer shipping dot name dot full name, of course in object like that. And after that we are gonna have address shipping dot address and address line 1, and we are gonna have total, and it's gonna be cart dot total, and payment method will be 1. For the cash method it's gonna be 0. For PayPal it's gonna be 1. Let's remember again, order model, customer name, address, total, status, and method. I'm not writing status because it's 0 by default. And by the way, let's change this amount also. It's gonna be card.total, but of course it's here. It should be before this variable, so I'm gonna move this here. And that's all, I think. I hope it's gonna work. Choose this pizza, medium, garlic sauce, amount will be 2, add to cart, and it's here. I'm clicking, as you can see, $32. Check out now. I'm gonna choose PayPal, and as you can see, our amount is here. It's not 2 anymore. Make this my preferred shipping address, and I'm gonna pay now. Okay, something is wrong. Initial state is not defined. Something wrong with this dispatch. Reset. Cart slice. So let's copy here and paste like that. And products will be again empty string. Quantity will be 0 and total will be 0 also. I'm gonna choose this pizza. Let's add directly. I'm gonna use PayPal button, shipping address, and pay now. And as you can see, we are going to orders and its ID. Perfect. Of course, it's not what we have ordered, that because we didn't create anything for this specific ID. So I will come here and say connect DB and try and catch block. Response status 500 and JSON this error. But I'm gonna try here. I will say const order and await order dot find by ID, and I'm gonna use our parameter here, which is ID, and after finding this order we are gonna send as response status 200 and send this order. So if we go to our order page, it's gonna be ID and this orders page. Let's close other things here. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is using again get server side props. So I'm gonna copy this and paste here. It's exactly the same thing. Remember what we are doing. We are taking our parameters, which is our ID, and making these API requests, API orders and this ID. And after that, we are setting our props. It's gonna be order, and we can use it here. I will say order. And remember, we are using this variable, but this time we have order. We can use its status. Okay, so let's change everything here. It's gonna be order.id, order.customer, address, and its price. Order.total. Okay. By the way, let's import this Axios. Let's see. As you can see, ID, customer, address, total, and its status. Perfect. By the way, we can change here also. I'm gonna select them and order.total, like that. Perfect. So what about cash payment? What I want to do is when I click this button, I'm gonna open a modal and it's gonna ask our name, address, and other informations. Where's our card? We are gonna call this function again and we are gonna go to order page again. To do that, let's create another use state here. And I'm gonna say cash and set cash. And when I click this button, where is this cash button here? I will say on click and set this cash to true. So I will say if it's true, open a modal. Let's create our modal here in the components. I'm gonna say order detail. Let's create our function. I will say class name styles.container. Let's take this style. I will say import styles from, we are gonna go to styles file and we are gonna create order detail .module.css. By the way, there's a typo here, like that. Okay, let's create this file in this styles. So let's create one more div here. It's gonna be wrapper. Let's write here a title, like that. You will pay $12 after delivery. And I'm gonna write here some input items. Let's say div class name styles.item. And inside this item, we are gonna have a label. Let's say name, surname, and input. Placeholder, let's say John Doe. Type will be text. It's gonna be string, and let's say class name styles.input. And for this label, so what I'm gonna do is creating here a use state. I will say const customer set customer. Remember, it's name and surname. So I will say use state hook, and at the beginning null or empty string. I will do the same thing for address, like that. So let's change it here. I will say on change, and we are gonna take event and set our customer. It's gonna be event target and value, like that. Before doing anything else, let's call this component here inside our card. Let me close here, by the way. Okay, I'm gonna come here and write a condition. I will say if it's cache, remember when we click that button, our cache is gonna be true. I'm gonna call order details. And what we are gonna pass here, we can pass total. It's gonna be card.total and create order function. So basically, we will be able to use this function. We are gonna pass our data and it's gonna do the same thing. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna click, and as you can see, it's here. So what I'm gonna do is making this container position absolute, so we are gonna see in the middle of the screen. So let's open this and put this here, and I will say width 100%, height 100%, or VH, and I will say position absolute. Let's say top 0, left 0, and I'm gonna center everything inside this component. Align item center, justify content center. Let's see. Okay, as you can see, it's here. I will say background color is gonna be gray, but I'm gonna decrease this opacity, something like that. Okay, perfect. And what about this wrapper? Let's say 500, and background color will be white, like that. Border radius 20 pixels, padding will be 50, like that. And again, display flags, but flags direction will be column. Let's center everything like that. For this title, font weight will be 300, like that. It looks better. For each item, display flags, flags direction column. So it's gonna contain all this container. By the way, as you can see, PayPal button on this container. To prevent this, let's come here and say set index 999, like that. I'm gonna give margin like that, label maybe 10, and for this input height will be 40. Perfect. So I'm gonna create some other items, but I'm just gonna copy and paste. There is nothing complex here. As you can see, I just added phone number. We didn't create, but if you want, you can go to the order model and add your phone number. And we have address. It's gonna change our address here, which we have created. And finally, we are gonna have a button, and it's gonna say just order, and when we click that button, it's gonna call this function. Let's create this function. Const handle click, and we are gonna complete this later. But before, let's see. As you can see, we didn't give any style for this button. I'm just gonna paste here some border, color, padding. You can just check this by pausing this video, or you can check in the GitHub repository. Something like that. It's not that important. Okay, so we have customer, we have address, we have total number. Remember, in cart component, we are passing total. Let's take it. And we are passing this create order function. It's really important. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna call create order function, and I'm gonna pass my items. First one will be customer, which includes name and surname, and I'm gonna pass address and total, and finally method will be 0. Remember why we are using this method. For PayPal, it's gonna be 1. For cash on delivery, it's gonna be 0. So let's do that. I'm gonna go to homepage, and I'm gonna check a pizza. This one. Let's say large garlic. Quantity will be 2, and I'm gonna add this to cart. Let's click here. Check out now, and it's gonna be cash on delivery. And I'm gonna write James Harden. And let's write here something, it doesn't matter, and address will be my fake address. And I'm gonna order, and as you can see, it creates new order, and we are visiting this page and seeing all details of our order. By the way, when we click this home page, we can go to index page. Let's open navbar. And remember, we can use link. I'm gonna come here for this home page. I'm gonna use link like that. And we are gonna go to home page. It's much easier, I think. Okay, perfect. By the way, if we go to navbar and module, and for list item, I will say cursor pointer. Okay. So we've finished everything as a customer, but what about admin? Firstly, I'm gonna create a page which is admin. We are gonna be able to log in, and after that we are gonna see a small button here that's gonna say add new pizza. So let's close everything and create new page. I'm gonna close here an API, and inside pages I'm gonna create admin page, and we are gonna have index page here like that. Actually, let's say JSX to make this easier. I'm gonna create my function. Let's create our CSS file, styles, admin.module.css. Let's make this capital, and I'm gonna copy this text and create new style. Let's say container in advance. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, by the way, why there's an error, admin module CSS. Okay, there is no problem. Let's say class name styles.container. I'm not sure, should I copy and paste or write one by one? Let's write. I don't want to make you confused. I'm just gonna do everything from scratch. So what we are gonna have? Okay, it's empty right now. We are gonna have a container, and it's gonna contain two items. First one will include our pizza list, and second one will include order list. So let's create item div here, class name styles.item, and one more, and inside first one I'm gonna create h1 tag, and let's say products, class name title. Okay, after this title I'm gonna create a table. We are gonna do exactly the same thing what we have done in the previous lesson. We are gonna have table, titles like that, image, ID, title, price, and action. And it's gonna be one more, but this time it's not gonna be th, it's gonna be td. Let's say pizza title, pizza ID. We are gonna change them after server-side rendering, but for now it can be like that. By the way, it's gonna be image. I'm sorry, I'm gonna paste my image here from Next and image, and this is gonna be pizza ID, pizza title, pizza price, let's say actually $50. And here I'm gonna create two buttons. I will say button, first one will be edit, and second one will be delete. Let's give class name. I will say styles.button. I will give the same class name for this delete button, and let's see. So for this site, let's create another table. I'm gonna copy this table and paste it in second item, like that. And I forgot this title. Let's paste it here before table, and it's gonna be orders. So what we are gonna have, order ID and customer name and surname. Let's say customer, total price, payment method, status, and action. So let's delete this image. We are not gonna have any image. Some random ID like that. Let's say John Doe. Customer name is gonna be price. It's gonna be status. Let's say paid. Status will be preparing. We are gonna change them later. And for the action, let's delete this. And I'm gonna write here next stage. So when we click this button, we are gonna change this status. So let's take care of our style. Admin module CSS. I'm gonna take this here and close my sidebar. And what I'm gonna do, I will say padding 50 pixels, and it's gonna be display flex, like that. And for each item, they are gonna be flex 1. So we are gonna split this container like that. And for table, I'm gonna say with 100%. So it's gonna contain all these items. Let's see, okay. And I'm gonna give border spacing for each item, and text align will be left. So what about those buttons? I will say button. I'm gonna delete border. Let's say none. And text color will be white. And I'm gonna give some padding and cursor pointer. But what about background colors? For the first item, for edit button, let's say first child, background color will be teal. And I'm gonna give margin right. So we are gonna separate them like that. And for the other button, let's say last child, background color will be this red color, like that. By the way, I don't want to see this red. Let's change it. I'm gonna delete this class name. By the way, this ID is too long. What I can do, I can make this string, and I can say slice, and I'm gonna just take first 5 items. And after that, let's write here dot dot dot, like that. As you can see, just 5 items. Perfect. So what I'm gonna do is creating server-side props. Let's close here, and I'm gonna come here and say export const get server-side props, async function, and we are gonna use Axios here and fetch our data. For pizza list, let's say product list or response, it's gonna be await and Axios. I will say get. I'm gonna write here API endpoint localhost 3000 API and products. I will do the same thing for orders. Let's write here order, and finally I'm gonna return them as a prop. Return props will be orders order response dot data and pizza response and data. So we can use them here. orders and pizzas, or let's say products actually, because we used product here, like that. Okay, so we can use them here. I'm gonna write product list, which is products, and map, and for each product I'm gonna return this tr. Let's cover this like that. Actually it should be tbody also, and let's give our unique key here. I will say key product.id. So let's change them. For image, I'm gonna say product.image. I'm gonna copy this product.id, title, and price. Actually, it's not gonna be price, it's gonna be prices and 0. Remember, we have 3 prices. So I can do the same thing for this ID. I'm gonna say slice and 0, 5, ... Okay. I said products. They are gonna be just product. Like that. Our all products are here. So what I'm gonna do is deleting any of those items. When I click this button, I'm gonna create new function. Let's do that. I'll say on click. I'm gonna say, let's close this sidebar, by the way. Okay, I will say handle delete, and we are gonna pass our product ID. So we are gonna delete this item by using this ID, and let's create this function. Const handle delete, I will say ID, of course, it's gonna be async function, that because we are gonna make API request. So let's say try and catch block error. If there is an error, just console log that, and I will say const response await Axios, and I'm gonna use delete method, http localhost 3000 products, and we are gonna use a specific ID which we use here. So what I'm gonna do, just plus ID, and there's a problem here. Okay, when we click this, it's gonna delete from MongoDB, but it's still gonna stay here. To prevent this, what I'm gonna do is creating here 2 use states, const pizza list, set pizza list, it's gonna be use state, and at the beginning it's gonna be our products. So instead of products, we are gonna use this list, and when we delete any of them, we are gonna update this state. By the way, use state, interesting. Let's write here order list and set order list, and it's gonna be orders. Okay, it says it's not a component. Maybe because of it's not capital I. Oh, okay. A component should be capital first letter. Okay. So instead of products, I'm gonna use pizza list. It's exactly the same thing, as you can see. But when I delete any of them, oh, I'm sorry, I deleted, but I didn't set my state. Here, I will say set pizza state, pizza list, pizza list.filter, and for each pizza it's gonna check their IDs. If it equals this ID, it's gonna delete. If it's not, they are gonna stay like that. Okay, it's not deleted, that because we didn't create API request for that. Let's create API product and ID, and here for delete methods, remember we just copy and paste, but what I'm gonna do is writing here delete by ID. Okay, it's find by ID and delete, and I'm gonna write here my ID, and after that we can return just some message, the product has been deleted. So we don't need product here. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna delete. Okay, they are still here. I forgot here API. Let's try to delete this one. And as you can see, it's not here anymore. If I refresh the page, and it's gone. Perfect. I'm not gonna do this edit right now. That's because in the home page we are gonna be able to create new pizza, and I just want to show you there. So what about this one? So I will say order list dot map, and for each order I'm gonna call this body, and unique key will be here, which is order.id, and here let's say order.id order.customer is gonna be total, and I'm gonna write here a condition. What I'm gonna say, I will say check the order and status, payment method, and if it's 0, let's write here a span, and it's gonna be cache. By the way, I forgot here question mark, and if it's not 0, another span, and it's gonna be paid, and they are here. So what about this status? How we are gonna change it? Basically we can create a variable const status, and I'm gonna create an array. First one will be preparing, on the way, and delivered. And we can use this status according to order status. So let's say status, of course in curly brackets, and order.status. As you can see, it's still preparing because it's 0, and status 0 is preparing. Okay. So what about this action? When I click this button, we are gonna change this status. Let's say on click event, and I will say handle status, and I'm gonna pass order ID. Let's create this function. Const handle status ID, and again it's gonna be async function, and try and catch method. We are gonna basically update our order. So I will say const response wait axios, and this time it's gonna be put method and orders, and we are gonna take this ID. And after that, it's gonna return us the updated version of this order. But before, we should send here what we are gonna change. We are gonna change its status, and it's gonna be current status +1. So what's our current status? To find the status, firstly we should find our order. Let's say const item, and it's gonna be order list, and filter. For each order we are gonna search for order.id equals this id. So it's gonna return us another array. So basically we are just gonna take the first item. Okay, we found our item, our order. What's its status? Let's say const current status is gonna be item.status. So we can use it here, and I will say +1. So in this case our status is 0. When I click this button, it's gonna be 1. When I click again, it's gonna be 2, something like that. But how we are gonna see it here? To do that, I'm gonna set my orders again. So I will come here and say set order list, and I'm gonna set my list without mutating. To do that, I'm gonna write here response and data, the updated version of this order, and after that I'm gonna say order list, and I'm gonna filter this, and I'm gonna delete the previous version of this order. What I mean by that, I will say order, and if order id equals that id, we are not gonna take it. If it's not, they can stay in this order list. Again, basically we just deleted our order in our order list, and then we added new one which we have updated here. By the way, again, don't forget writing API here, otherwise it's not gonna work. And in API we didn't actually write our method, so let's say find by id and update, like that. And I'm gonna pass my id here, and I'm gonna write here my body, which is request and body. Remember, we are sending this data and we are taking it by using request and body. But if you do that, it's not gonna return the updated product. To prevent this error, I should write here new and true. In this case, it's gonna return the newest version. Let's try. I'm clicking, nothing has changed. API orders. Oh, it's products. I'm so sorry, it should be orders. Let's open this, and for put method, as you can see, it's empty. I'm just gonna copy and paste, and in this case it's gonna be order and order. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna refresh the page. I'm gonna click, and as you can see, it's on the way right now. If I refresh the page, and again it's here. Perfect. So what else we can do? We can go to home page, and as I said, we are gonna create a button here which says create new pizza, but to see that button we have to be an admin. But how we are gonna do that? As you remember, we didn't do any authentication process. We can directly go to admin dashboard like that. But what I'm gonna do is creating a login page for this admin panel. And after that, we are gonna be using cookies. And after login process, we will be able to see this page. If we don't have any cookies, the application is gonna redirect us to login page again. So how we are gonna do that? Inside API, I'm gonna create new page here, and it's gonna be login. Remember, it's in the API, not in the page. So we will use handler again, like that. And I'm gonna export that. Okay. What we are gonna use here? We are gonna use cookie. Let's write here yarn add and cookie. We are gonna use this cookie here. Okay, let's decide what we are gonna do. Basically, we can create username and password in our env file. Why we are doing that? That because it's a single user application. We are not gonna have multiple admins or any user. So basically, we can assign our username and password here, and we can just use it. Let's say admin, and password will be 1 2 3 4 5 6. Of course, you should write here more complex passwords, and also I'm gonna create here a token, and this is gonna be our cookie token. Okay, let's close here and refresh our application. Okay, let's close here. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna write here if request and method equals post. We are gonna try to handle login process. I'm gonna take username and password from request and body. I will say username and password is gonna come from user. And I'm gonna make here the validation. I will say if username equals username and password equals password, of course env, I forgot that, process.env, and same thing here. Okay, so if our username and password is correct, we are gonna send a cookie. So I will say response set header. This is how we are setting cookies. I'm gonna write here set cookie, and here I'm gonna use cookie. Remember, we just imported this, and I will say serialize, and token name will be token, and token value will be process.env.token. And after that, we can write here some options. Firstly, I will say maximum age 1 hour, 60 times 60. And I'm gonna use same site property here to make our cookie more secure, and it's gonna be strict. And where we are gonna use this cookie, path will be whole this application. We are not gonna indicate any specific URL. And also you can use HTTP only or secure, but we are in the development mode, so we are not gonna use it because we are not using HTTPS request. It can stay like that. And finally, after setting cookie, we are gonna send a response. I will say JSON, let's say just successful. Status 200. And if it's not correct, let's write else response.status, let's say 400, and JSON wrong credentials. Okay. We have exported our handler. I hope everything is okay. So let's create login page for our client side. I'm gonna close everything here. Let's close this API. Admin is here. I'm gonna say login.jsx. Let's create our function. Login like that. And styles from styles login module.css. Let's copy this, and I'm gonna create container quickly. and its class name will be container. And let's write here const username set username is gonna be use state hook, and one more is gonna be password. And at the beginning they can be just null or undefined, and one more, and it's gonna be error. Set error like that. Okay. And what else we are gonna need? We are gonna need use router hook. I will say const router and use router from next and router. Why we are importing this? That because after login process we are gonna go to admin dashboard. We are not gonna stay in login page. And let's create other divs here. It's gonna be wrapper styles.wrapper, and inside let's say h1 admin dashboard. And let's create here two inputs, which is username and password. When we change this item, it's gonna set username. When we change this item, it's gonna set password. And finally, we are gonna have sign in button, and it's gonna call handle click function when we click this. Let's create it here, const handle click. Let's say async function. We are gonna try to make login request, so I will say try catch error. Okay, and here, by the way, it's not arrow function. Okay, I will say await Axios, and it's gonna be post request http localhost 3000 and API. Don't forget writing API here, and login. And what we are gonna pass, our request and body will be username and password. Okay, and after that, if everything is okay, if it's successful, we are gonna use router and we are gonna go to admin panel. I'm gonna write here login. Oh, I didn't give any style. Let's give quickly login and style. For container, I'm gonna give height, and I'm gonna use calculate as we always do. I'm gonna delete this navbar height like that, and display flags, align item center, justify content center. And for the wrapper, again display flags. Flags direction will be column like that. I'm not sure if I gave class name or not, but anyway, let's write here in advanced. I will say margin bottom 20 pixels and padding 0 and 10 pixels. Okay, it's here. And what about this button? Let's copy this here. Nothing important. We have already done this 100 times, so I can copy and paste, I think. And finally, we are gonna have an error. If we write here wrong credentials, we are gonna set error, and it's gonna be true. Let's delete this, by the way. And I'm gonna come here and say, if there is an error, create a span and say wrong credentials. So we can use this error here in our CSS. And let's say font size 13 and color will be red. Let's see right now. Okay, I'm gonna write here admin, but password will be wrong. Sign in, and as you can see, wrong credentials. If I write here correct one, okay, still can't. Let's open console. Oh, 400, wrong credentials. What's wrong here? Username, process env username, password. I think I got this error before. It was because of we cannot use this username and password like that, I think. If I say admin, and again, if you want to, you can create new model, which is user, and you can store this in your MongoDB, but there is no sense. We are using just one user. I'm gonna restart my application and let's try again. Of course, they are gonna be admin, I will say admin and my password. Again, something is wrong. Set headers is not a function. It's gonna be set header. Let's try. I hope everything is okay. I'm gonna sign in. Okay, this time it's 200 successful, and in our application we have token, but why it's not redirecting us? Oh, I forgot push here. Guys, I'm so tired. I think it's been a long time and I don't want to take a break. I just want to finish this and publish the video. Let's continue. I'm sorry for my silly mistakes. I'm gonna log in. So what about this admin page? I'm gonna use cookies again, and if we don't have cookie or our token is not correct, we are gonna be redirecting to login page again. So how we are gonna do this? Let's close here and open admin page. And for the server-side props, we can also check our cookie. Remember, all this function is happening in the server side, so don't worry about cookie here. So I will write const my cookie. So how I'm gonna take my request? Basically, we can use context here, and it takes our request and response. We can use them. So if there is a request, we are gonna take cookie, and if there is no cookie, it's gonna be just empty string. And after that, I'm gonna write here my condition. I will say if my cookie dot token doesn't equal process dot env dot token, just block this process here and don't call any API request here. Basically, we can return to the login page. There's an fsim method for this in Next.js. We can use redirect, and inside this object we are gonna write destination, and it's gonna be admin.login, /login, and permanent will be false, so it's gonna be in this same tab. Okay, let me check again. Request cookie, it's gonna be cookies, I'm sorry. And if it doesn't equal our token, we are gonna return here. If everything is okay, we are gonna fetch those data. I'm gonna refresh this page. As you can see, we are still here, but if I delete my cookie here, as you can see, it doesn't let me to go admin panel. It directly returns me this login page. I will say admin, my password, and sign in. As you can see, we are here. If I refresh this page, and we are able to see our admin dashboard. Perfect. So what about adding new pizza? I'm gonna add here the button. I'm gonna open my index page. And I can do the same thing. I will say context and my cookie here, and I'm gonna say let admin or is admin is gonna be false, and I'm gonna check my cookie. I will say if my cookie.token equals process.env.token, it's gonna make this admin true. Oops, like that. And we can pass admin here as a prop. So we can use it here, pizza list and also admin. And I'm gonna create here a button. So after featured, I'm gonna write here, if there is an admin, just write here something. I'm gonna say span and hello. I'm gonna refresh the page. And as you can see, hello is here. If I delete my cookie and refresh the page again, as you can see, it's not here anymore. Basically, I'm gonna create another component, new file, let's say add button, and let's say class name styles.main add button, add new pizza. Let's import these styles. Import styles from styles and add.module.css. So when I click this button, we are gonna show a model here as we did for the cart. Let's create here use state hook, and it's gonna be close and set close. Basically, if it's close, if it's true, we are not gonna see our model. If it's not, we are gonna open it here in this home page. So I will say if it's not close, call another component. Let's create another component, add.jsx hello, and I'm gonna call it here add component, and also I'm gonna pass this set close to this button. By the way, we didn't call it add button, and I'm gonna pass this set close function and here also. Okay, so when I click this button, I'm gonna update my state and it's gonna be false. On click set close, it's gonna be false. Let's see. By the way, we don't have this module. Let's create. I'm gonna go to styles, add module CSS. I'm always doing that. Okay, as you can see, we don't have user. Let's go to admin panel. It's gonna redirect us to login page. Admin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sign in. As you can see, we are here. If I go to home page, this button will be here. If I click, as you can see, this hello is here. Let's take care of this style. I'm gonna paste it here. It's a regular button, as we always do, like that. So what about this container? Let's close here and here. Firstly, I'm gonna import my functions. We are gonna use state hook, styles from add module CSS. We are gonna use Axios and router. Before using any state, let's take care of our div here. It's gonna be styles.container, and one more. It's gonna be wrapper. Let's delete this hello. Okay, let's create here a span, and I'm just gonna write here x, And basically we are gonna close our modal here. So I will say on click, and remember we have just passed setClose function here, so we can take as a prop and use it here. If we click this button, it's gonna be true again, and we are gonna close our modal. So let's say class name styles.close. Let's add title, and I'm gonna add a div here which includes our first item. Let's say styles.item, and inside label choose an image. Class name will be styles.label, and after that we are gonna have input, and its type will be file. Firstly we are gonna choose a file from our computer, and we are gonna upload this later. And let's create here file use state. It's gonna be file set file use state hook. It's gonna be null at the beginning. And for others, title, description, prices, extra. Of course you can use just one use state and change every item in one function. It really doesn't matter. Title, set title. Actually I'm just gonna copy and paste. Basically it's gonna include our pizza properties, but we know title, description, prices and extra options. But what about this extra? You are gonna understand better right now, don't worry about that, I'm gonna explain. And let's create other items. I'm just gonna add title and description. There is nothing important here. But what about price? New item. Label will be prices. But how we are gonna choose our price for each size? So basically I'm gonna add here 3 inputs, and each one is gonna represent different sizes: small, medium and large. So let's write here input. Let's make this self-close, and type will be number, and let's say placeholder, and it's gonna be small. And finally I'm gonna use onChange method. Let's take events, and we are gonna change our price by using this function. Let's say change price, and I'm gonna send events and also size index, which is 0 because it's small size. And I'm gonna do the same thing for others, but before let's give class name. But it's gonna be something different here, that because we are gonna use multiple class names. To do that we can use backtick here. First one will be styles.input, and second one will be here styles.input small. Let's duplicate this. This is gonna be medium, and this is gonna be large. Okay. And remember, these inputs will be class name input. We are gonna use input also, but this time they are gonna be input small. They are gonna be a little bit smaller. And let's change here for medium and for large one, like that. So let's create new item, and it's gonna be our extras. I'm gonna create here and close this div. Okay, it's gonna be extra. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna create 2 inputs and 1 button. First input is gonna be extra text, and second one will be its price. And when we click on the button, it's gonna add as extra. That's why we are using extra options and extra here. Basically this extra is gonna hold only those inputs. They are not here yet, but let's create. You are gonna understand better right now. I'm gonna create here another div. Is gonna be styles.close extra, and inside 2 inputs and 1 button. Let me copy and paste them. As you can see, first one is text and second one is its price. And also when we change these inputs, we are gonna set our extra by using this function, handle extra input. And for this button, we are gonna add onClick method, and when we click on this button, we are gonna set extra options. Let me show you how. Firstly, we are gonna update our input, which is extra here. Let's create this function, const handle extra input. It's gonna be event, and we are gonna set this extra, and it's gonna be previous version of extra, and also event.target.name equals event.target.value. So where this name comes from? Here, its name is text and its name is price. And when we change those items, it's gonna update by using their value. It's gonna be text, spicy sauce, price $2, something like that. And other one, const handle extra, like that. We are gonna set extra options and previous one, and it's gonna return previous extra options, but additionally these extra, which we have set here. If you haven't followed my previous tutorials, it can be a little bit confusing for you. You can search for how to handle multiple inputs in one handler in React. For this one, how to set state using previous data. After reading them about 5 minutes, you're gonna be understanding everything, so don't worry about that. If you remember, we have one more function here, change price. We are sending event and index number. Let's create this also. I will say const change price, event and index. If we set our prices like prices and this index equals event target and value, it's not gonna work. We cannot see our new value like that because we are mutating our data. To prevent this, I'm gonna find my current prices first and change its value and set prices after that. What I mean by that, I will say const current prices is gonna be prices. And after that, I'm gonna update this price, current prices index equals event target dot value, and after that I'm gonna set my price. So set prices, it's gonna be current prices. Okay, so what else we are gonna need? We didn't write any set state here for this input. Let's say on change method. So whenever we change our file, we are gonna set file using event target dot files and first file. It means we cannot choose multiple files, it's gonna be just one. And that's all, I think. I will click here, extra items. As you can see, it's our text one, and we can add new extra. And when we click again, source 2, we are gonna add again, but we cannot see them here. Let's create another div here. I will say div class name styles extra items, and for each item I'm gonna create a span. I will say extra options for each item. Let's say option create a span, and it's gonna be option.text. We should give here unique key. Let's say option.text again. It's gonna be unique name. Let's give class name here. Extra item. Okay, let's see. As you can see, source 2, source 3. I'm gonna add, and it's here. Perfect, it works. So finally, I'm gonna create a button. Let's create here, and when we click this button, we are gonna call this function. Let's create const handle create. It's gonna be async function. We are gonna handle our button, but before, let's take care of this style. It shows up here. We are gonna handle that, and it's gonna be like a modal. So let's do that. Width will be 100 VW, height will be 100 VH, full screen, and background color will be this opacity based gray color, and position will be fixed or absolute. And we should give any position here, top 0, like that, as you can see. But this navbar is on our container. To prevent this, we can use that index like that, and let's use display flex, align item center. We are gonna center everything, and for the wrapper, width 500, background color white. I'm gonna give some padding, let's say 50, border radius 20 pixels, and again display flex, align item center, justify content, space between. By the way, flex direction will be column, like that. Actually, I can delete these align items. I don't want to center them like that. Okay, perfect. So what about this button? I want to see this somewhere here, so I can use position absolute. But as I always say, if you are using position absolute, the parent should be position relative. So let's take care of that. What's the name? Here, close. So I will say width 30, height 30, background color, let's say black, and its color will be white. It's just a letter, remember, and border radius, let's say 50%. Let's center them like that, cursor pointer, and I will say position absolute, and I will say top -10, left -10, so right -10, so it's gonna be here. Perfect. So when I click this button, it's gonna close. When I click again, we are gonna open. It's gonna work like that. By the way, I can reduce this padding. For top and bottom, it can be 10 pixels, like that. So what about items? Actually, I'm just gonna move this button here at the beginning. That's because it's this button, remember? And what about items? For each item, I'm gonna say display flex, flex direction column. So they are gonna be vertical like that. And let's say margin bottom 10 pixels. Like that. Okay. For label, again margin bottom, let's say 5, font size 14, font weight 500. Like that. And for inputs, I'm gonna delete border, and I'm just gonna give border bottom. I will say 1 pixel, solid and gray, like that. And when I click them, I don't want to see this outline, so I will say outline, none, semicolon here. Okay, perfect. And for the price container, I'm gonna say display flex, this container, but we didn't create, I think. Okay, after this label, I'm gonna create div, and it's gonna end after this third input. Let's see again. Okay, they are horizontal. I will say justify content space between. And for input small, remember it's for our prices, I will say with 25%, like that. And for extra, display flex again, like that. And justify content space between again. And when we create here any item, like that, we are going to change their style. Remember, there is a container, extra items. Let's give some margin between them, 10 pixels and 0 pixel. And display will be flex, and flex wrap will be wrap. So if we add here around 10 items or something like that, it's not gonna be horizontal anymore. After this line, it's gonna start from new line. That's why we are using flex wrap. Okay, and for each item, extra item, let's give some padding, font size 14 pixels. I'm gonna give border 1 pixel, solid, and let's say tomato, like that. Background color will be white, color will be tomato also, text color, and I will give margin right, and border radius, like that. And let's say cursor pointer. Okay, and for this add button here, let's copy and paste this, like that. Perfect. So how we are gonna create new item here? Firstly, we should upload new image. To do that, we can use different services, but this time I'm gonna show you the most basic one, and it's Cloudinary. We can use Firebase also, but in each tutorial I just want to show you different things so you can learn different methods. It's an awesome service that you can upload your images, your media assets. To do that, you can go to this page and you can create your applications for free, and this is gonna be basically your ID. And how we are gonna upload our file? To do that, we should create new form data first. I will say const data, and it's gonna be new form data. And inside this form data, we should add our file. We already have a file, remember? So I will say data.append, and we are gonna set our file like that, and we are gonna upload to Cloudinary. So let's say try and catch block. If there is an error, we are gonna console log that. So let's upload our image. So I will say const upload response, and it's gonna be await and Axios, and it's gonna be post method. So which URL we are gonna use? We are gonna use api.cloudinary, and its version here. And finally, we are gonna add our ID here. Let's see. As you can see, it's here. You should just copy and paste like that, and image and upload. And which data we are gonna give? We are gonna give this data which we have appended this file. It's that easy. But if we do that, we are gonna have an error. Let me show you. I will say console log upload response dot data. Let's see what we have. I'm gonna open my console and I'm gonna choose any file here. And if I click on create button, as you can see, it says 400 bad requests. So we should do one more thing here, that because we are not using any API key or something, we are just using our ID. If you want to use it like that, you have to append one more thing here, and it's gonna be data append, and it's gonna be upload preset. It's gonna be underscore, by the way, and we are gonna indicate here our uploading folder. Let's say uploads. You can write here whatever you want. But if you do that, you should need a configuration here. Let's go to settings, and I'm gonna choose upload here. And here, I'm gonna choose add upload preset, and its name will be uploads, and folder name will be uploads also. Make sure that it's the same name here. And I'm gonna choose unsigned pictures. Let's save and try again. I'm gonna open console. I'm gonna choose new file here, and I'm gonna create. And this time, as you can see, it gives us all those properties, and there is a URL here. Let's check it. I'm gonna copy and paste here, and as you can see, our image is here. Basically, we can use this URL. And if you go to media library, you can see your folder here, and it includes your images like that. Perfect. It's that easy. So after uploading this image, we can take its URL. I will say const URL. It's gonna be upload response and data. And let's write here const new product. It's gonna be title, all those information here, we are gonna use them. Description, prices and extra options, and finally image will be this URL. So let's make API request. I will say await Axios post request $3,000 API and products, and we can send this data new product, and after that we can close this modal. So I will say set close. It's gonna be false. Remember, it comes from index page, so we can close it. It's gonna be true, not false, true. And that's all, I think. Let's try. I'm gonna refresh this page and close here. Add new pizza. I'm gonna choose pizza here. New pizza. Try our new taste. Small will be $10, 12, 14. Extra item, let's say garlic, price $2. Spicy, $2 also, like that. And I'm gonna create, and you can show there a spinner also. And if I refresh the page, we are gonna see this error. That because if you are using Next.js, it doesn't allow any external URL to show your images. In this case, we should allow this domain. How we are gonna do this? Let's open sidebar, and here you are gonna see this Next.js config file. And inside, let's delete this, we don't need that. I will say images, and I will say domains. And in this array, you can write any domain here. In this case, it's gonna be Cloudinary. And if you are changing config file, you should restart your application. Let's do that. Yarn dev. And let's see. As you can see, it's here. Perfect. I'm clicking and it's here. 10, 12, and 14. Perfect. It works like that. And also, to provide security, you can go to API, and for products, for example, as a customer, we can get any product, but we cannot post any of them. So basically, we can block this process for just normal users. We can choose our cookies here. Remember, it comes from our request. Cookies. And I'm gonna say token equals cookies and token. And we can use it for post method. I will say if there is no token or token is not equal process env and token, we are gonna return new response, and status will be 401. And let's say you are not authenticated or not authenticated. And I'm gonna try to add new pizza, and I'm gonna open my console here, choose new image. Let's write something here. And if I try to create, as you can see, 401 not authenticated. I can do the same thing for this put and delete method. Let's do that. Cookies. And I'm gonna do the same thing here for put method and delete method. Also, you can create here a middleware and you can check your authentication. But for now, we don't have that much endpoint. We can just copy and paste, doesn't matter. So it works like that. So we finished this project. I hope you liked it. We are gonna make more professional projects in the future together. If you learned something new today, please like the video and leave a comment. And you can support LlamaDev by using the join button or the link in the description below. Don't forget to follow LlamaDev's social media accounts. I hope I will see you in the next tutorial. Goodbye.